you like monster girls?
No.
Of course you do. From the flickering lights of the ancient fires to the cold vacuum of space, humanity's ever-enduring quest has always been to pierce the veil of darkness, and when you stare into the heart of the void, it's kinda fucking hot. It's Capcom's other forgotten fighting game, with half-naked catgirls, fully naked fishmen, and a whole lot of bodily fluid. This is Vampire Savior.
Feel this rhythm deep inside, nowhere left for us to hide. This ain't no game, it's pure desire, setting every nerve on fire. Let the bassline drop and the lights glow dim, explore the passion on our wheel tonight. We lose ourselves completely, moving to this beat so sweetly.
This one's going to be a bit different. From the anime to the terrible western cartoons, to the toy lines and crossover games, the Vampire series, aka Dark Stalkers, has an incredibly deep and interesting history. However, there is very little game to the game itself. The roster is solid and instantly memorable, coming in at 18 playable characters, not counting the hidden ones, which makes it equal to Street Fighter 02 in that regard. However, you are essentially locked into a 7-match arcade run, and very little else, which was the style at the time. Many forget how Soul Calibur changed up home ports of fighting games when it comes to side content. I recently found myself left with footage from a Bloody Roar 2 run, because there was so little to say about the game, it didn't even bother to have player endings. This game does have a few little tricks up its sleeve to throw at you. And because we are playing the EX version on PlayStation 1, one of those tricks is allowing you to unlock the systems for both Vampire Saviors as well as Hunter 2, essentially giving you all 3 versions of Darkstalkers 3. To unlock these modes, you must level your custom character till it reaches the requirement for both option sets, which is great because it means I can play as Ami, going back to the original theme of these gameplays, but funnily enough, you are tasked with winning so many matches that I have spent more time playing as my OC in Darkstalkers than I've played with anyone in the main cast. In fact, this was supposed to be mostly a Morgan run, keeping with the other theme of doing playthroughs with characters that I never used. Back in the day, my main was one Jonathan Gallion Talbane Joestar III, because he's a jacked fucking werewolf that knows kung fu and has a body that just won't quit.
Now that's a body that just won't quit.
Just won't quit?
He ain't gonna quit.
See, I bet you if you pop those jeans off, you're gonna find a sweaty hog that won't quit either.
He definitely brings the big knot energy, but he also has a particularly vicious finisher, bisecting the opponent straight down the middle. Finishing moves are just one of the small bits of flavor in this title. From Lily's puppet show ability to Dimitri waifuifying every character to drain them of random white liquids, it's full of personality and charm. And that is literally by design. The fighting game craze Capcom had kicked off themselves with Street Fighter 2 now put them up against a torrent of non-stop competitors releasing back to back, and they needed something that would grab people's attention back to their arcade cabinets. It was a multi-prong attack. I won't bore you with the details, since there are real YouTubers who have covered this extensively. However, my favorite anecdote has to do with how we got Morgan in the first place. Legends say a visitor from the far-off land of America was speaking with the team and asking about the monsters they wished to include, and he suggested a succubus. What is a succubus? Someone called out. And so he explained to them that a succubus is a sexy, large-busted demon girl who visits you at night and forcefully drains you of your man-seed. And everyone in the room collectively shouted, "Oh my god, that is the greatest thing ever, put it in the fucking game right now. In fact, let's have 2 of them." And I think succubussy is just fantastic. Do you? Let everyone know in the comments. Say it proud. And also give that subscribe button a smack right on that round ass. She's a dirty subscribe button. She loves it. You're free to jeer me all you want. The boos mean nothing, and Capcom knew exactly what they were doing. Let's take a trip back in time. It's the summer of 1994, and you enter into an arcade, ready to spend those quarters you stole from your mom's purse. Surrounded by the loud noises and bright lights, you look past the beat-em-ups and arcade shooters, searching for something new, something special. And then, from across the room, it grabs your attention. You see her, and your eyes meet for the first time. Now you are caught within her tight yet gentle grip, greedily draining you of every last token as you slowly insert them into her eager little slot. Guiding you along, she shows you how to press every button, and if you search hard enough, you can find her hidden level. She will get inside you like a virus, and there is no cure. Except possibly penicillin. That usually clears things up for me. Okay, enough simping on Morgan for now. Let's simp on Felicia instead, since she's a cat girl who is very flexible, and I also recorded a run with her. First matchup is always the easiest, you know why, to give you room to learn the buttons, but it is the same affair as other Capcom titles. Simple combos are much simpler in this game. Chaining light to medium to hard always seems to work with every character. You also have supers transferring over from the Street Fighter series, and I do believe this is the first Capcom game to ever do EX moves. However, I am not 100% on this, and my ego will not allow me to double check that statement. You also have the Dark Force ability, which is similar to the power gems in Marvel superheroes, except everyone is locked into one or a combination of the 6 abilities. Another interesting little detail is the round system. When you or your opponent drop, you do not reset to center, but instead continue instantly after the down without any health recovery. This leads into a much faster paced match that requires a little more thought put into how you play continuing into the second or third round. The catch-22 being this also significantly shortens the length of matches, as well as the game. BBC Hood defeated and now on the run, we head into match number 2 with another character I know nothing about, QB. She's kinda cool, I guess. What wasn't cool is the failed attempt at a cartoon series.
We're the Dark Stalkers!
Chiron, intergalactic collector of planets, wants the Earth, and he's going to get it, even if he has to wake the undead.
Yeah, that really happened. Following the plot of the first game very, very loosely, it was mostly a cheap attempt to sell cheap toys to children, simplifying the plot to Chiron bad, Felicia good. It even invented a viewer stand-in, in the form of Harry, descendant of the infamous Merlin the Magician. This kid kinda sucks, but he does have a hot cat girl sleeping at the foot of his bed every night, and I can't say that about myself. There are plenty of video reviews trashing the cartoon from a modern perspective, but for 1995, this was not at all the worst thing on TV. Dumb kid me was just happy to see these characters on screen. What really killed this show was having a 6 AM time slot, and that terrible decision is in line with how this series is treated in general. Hey, real fast, do you like fish sticks?
You shall serve as my slave!
Serve? With a side dish as dessert or the main course? I am Wheatson!
So anyway, Capcom gets a lot of crap for forgetting this series, but the truth is that it's always been neglected. I can barely recall running into any game from this franchise in the wild, to the point that I can recall the encounters. I was in and out of arcades coming up, and the only Dark Stalkers 1 cabinet I ever came across was at a go-kart track in Florida, similarly sad to the one and only Sonic Fighter cabinet I found in Vegas. This of course is why I have several ports of the home version, usually preferring the Saturn one over the PSP release, however EX is winning me over. And fortunately, these games are currently pretty easy to get your hands on through Steam. However, it should be noted that whenever Capcom does a re-release like this, it's part of a test, and Dark Stalkers fails every time. Holy shit, it's Yoshimitsu! Speaking of zombies, I think it's safe to say there is a decently sized audience who'd get behind resurrecting the series, but realistically I do not see Dark Stalkers 4 happening anytime soon. This isn't meant to be a downer. We have seen costume sets in Street Fighter V and VI, and with Akira from rival schools showing up not too long ago, the idea that one or two Darkstalkers could slip into the cast is not that insane, and should be the real push by the fans. Hell, at this point everyone from Final Fight's gotten a shot, and while I'm well aware Final Fight is technically the original Street Fighter 2, in reality, a large portion of what Street Fighter is today was tested in Darkstalkers. Street Fighter is Darkstalkers. Next up is Lily, who I still haven't gotten the chance to learn despite loving the design, though there is a little bit of her in another OC from the comic, Susu, who has cosplayed her in the past, along with Ami in that Morgan fit. Out of the entire cast, she probably got it the worst from the Western adaptation. They really did not understand how stylized hands worked. She does at least get some decent representation in the Capcom Versus series. Oh, never mind. Well, regardless, the Versus series may be another more reasonable future for this franchise, as similar to Street Fighter, a lot of those mechanics first arrived in Darkstalkers. And with the last Marvel vs. Capcom game not being all that liked, there is a hole to fill, and that hole filler could be another attempt at a Capcom fighting evolution, except less shitty. And finally, we arrive at who is technically the big bad of this version, but if we can be real for a moment, Jeddah just does not cut it as a villain. He could be in Malice Miser, and sure, he'd make a great Jafar to the real final boss, but choosing him to represent the franchise over Pyron, I really feel does hurt the series.
Mom always liked you best! Did not! Did too! Did not! Did too! Ah!
He's not even cool enough for the anime, and both the anime and Vampire Savior came out in 1997, so he was available, he just never made it past the casting couch. Similar to the first Alpha movie, this one gets things right. The animation looks true to the game's art style, the characters utilize their movesets, and with the smaller cast, you get more time with fan favorites. The plot even fits in with the first Darkstalkers, having Morgan and Dimitri already at war with one another, before Pyron shows up to essentially challenge all comers. 10 out of 10 would recommend. The final boss defeated, it's time to check out that ending. And why is Lilith here? Let's fix this. Edit mode. This is where I spent roughly 95% of this run, and while I am very happy getting to dork out playing as my own OC, it got old very, very quick. Attempting to have some sort of RPG mechanic, this mode is not at all balanced for that, with you starting out at such a disadvantage it isn't fun, to making you so OP by the end that the game is no longer a challenge. Incidentally, a happy accident of playing this mode is that this is one of the only times I can prove my controller is busted on video. You notice how it only blinks when I adjust colors using the square button? It's not supposed to do that. You grind that 7-match arcade run on repeat, going up against Lilith, who we all know is the true villain of Darkstalkers, and then you collect your experience points to add onto your life bar, your power, and to stack endless supers. The real reason is to unlock the EX options, allowing us to swap systems to Vampire Hunter or the first Vampire Savior, which also swaps the final bosses out for Pyron or Jeddah, complete with their intros. It also unlocked production art, which might be laughable now, but this was before Google, and it really was helpful to have the references to draw from. There are a few more hidden goodies, like the Marionette run or the super secret real final boss and joke ending. But it's getting late, and I am roughly 12 shots in, so I think I'm going to leave it to you to play the game and discover these things on your own. So, that was Darkstalkers, and I clearly had no idea which direction to go with that video. It was a weird little series I've always kinda loved, but I think most fans, including myself, don't really get behind the franchise like we should. I literally make a comic that satires fighting games, starring a bunch of demon girls, and the only Darkstalkers shout-out wasn't added till really late, with Amy constantly having bags under her eyes as a reference to Morgan. These characters could even live in the same world. That is to say, I could try to do better as a fan. And yes, if I had $1 million to blow, we would 100% do a crossover game. But these are fantasies. Is there really a future for Dark Stalkers? It does seem unlikely, but part of me wants to be hopeful. There is a lot of potential in placing the cast up against Street Fighter. The only issue is whether or not Capcom can find profit there. But again, stranger reboots have happened, so you never know. Anyway, thank you for letting me indulge a little in this one, and since it's spoopy season, we will probably be looking for more titles that fit that mood. And thank you to everyone who watched and to everyone who got adopts this week, and I will catch you in the next one.